seeing that we have a quorum, I'm going to open this regular meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission, August 24th, 2020. Please note that this is being audio and video recorded. We are obviously doing this by Zoom technology according to the emergency declaration by Governor Baker. Also understand that on April 6th, the commission delegated signature authority to Andrea for all decisions issued during the duration of the emergency. Andrea Langhauser, the environmental planner, assistant planning director. Applicants will be given the ability to assume remote control of their hearings and make presentations during their allotted time. One thing I do want to note is we have a relatively full schedule tonight, so if we could try and keep on track and keep on target with our discussions, that would be much appreciated by all of us, I believe. So first up is Greg Swan. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Rory, how you doing?
Good.
I'm going to share my screen, Rory.
Yep.
Got it? Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm here tonight to talk to the Conservation Commission about a dedication of municipal parcels along Depot Street. This is related to the project for the reconstruction of Depot Street that we're hoping to get started for next year. Concom had previously granted the project a notice of intent last year. The dedication of municipal parcels is our equivalent of an easement. The town can't take an easement from itself. But what we can do is the Conservation Commission is in control of 4 parcels, 288 Depot Street. Oh.
My mistake. Keep talking.
Okay. 288 Depot Street, 450 Depot Street, 470 Depot Street, and 9R Blackbrook Road are under conservation control. They're owned by the town, but they're controlled by the Conservation Commission. And all we're asking for Concom tonight is to vote to allow Andrea to sign the dedication of municipal parcel so that we can get this recorded at the Registry of Deeds to allow the project to go forward. This is a requirement by Mass DOT. This is what Town Council recommended to fill this particular gap. There was some dispute between DOT and Town Council that the town can't grant itself its own easement for its own property. But what we can do is we can dedicate the municipal parcels. These properties are only temporary easements, except for one of them has a area utility going through it. It's going to go back to what it is beforehand. It's a paperwork issue for the Registry of Deeds, so we can record that we're doing the work there.
So if everyone recalls, as Greg pointed out, we issued a notice of intent, and there was some discussion of even some restoration work being done in one of the properties. There's a head wall to a drainage conduit there. So I think we probably already agreed to all this work being done, and now we're just giving the town permission to do it on land that's under our management. So.
Correct.
Any comments, questions from anybody?
None for me.
None for me here.
Okay, I make a motion to issue, what's it called? Dedication of municipal parcels as noted in the document presented in the packet.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spadia, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Just before we go on, I sort of neglected to see if there was any public comment on this. So I do want to give people a chance. So if you have a public comment, you can either post it in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand, and so we'll give you a few moments here to do that. Okay, so seeing no questions, we'll just move along here. Greg, while we had you here, there was a discussion that's actually going to come up a little bit later in our next two hearings here related to sewer easements in the Five Corner District. And there was some discussion about potentially granting you some control over normal sewer connections like the one we're doing here that are in the middle of asphalt roadway, that you might oversee that rather than have to have them come before us in each individual case. Is that something that you'd be open to requesting an RDA of us to sort of cover the whole district and leave it up to your discretion to say, well, this one's, going through lawn that's right next to a pond or something? That might not be something that I'm comfortable okaying, but is that something you've thought about?
I think it would be helpful for the homeowners in Easton to just help them save a step of cost, because every time, they have to hire an engineer and, we're trying to keep costs down on this project as, for these service connections as much as possible. Some of the larger developments that are next to or close to a wetland, I would request that they go before Concom.
Right.
But I think for I would call them the run-of-the-mill house connections, I think it would be beneficial to not just the homeowner, but also to the Conservation Commission, just to help keep the docket clear when it's pretty cut and dry. These things usually, the more simple ones that I guess I'd be overseeing are usually open and closed in a day. It's an open trench. They lay the pipe. I come out and take a look at it, and they backfill every day. So the chance, erosion is minimal. If they are near a wetland, obviously we'd have to put erosion and drill burials. That's not that's never a breaking point for these types of projects. It's pretty standard now, no matter where you go. So yeah, I would have no problem with that. If you want to apply for an RDA for blanket coverage, not just for Five Corners, but also for Queesit and Northeastern Village, I'd be more than happy to work with Andrea on that. However the Conservation Commission wants to do it, I'd be more than happy to work with it.
Yeah, I think I'm in favor of that, especially given your commentary where, stuff that you're not comfortable with, you tell them, refer to us, and that's, I think, the way we'd want it. We want you to handle the run-of-the-mill stuff and leave the stuff that really does have to come before us. Anybody else have any comments about this? I'm just trying to streamline this process as we start to see more and more of these sewer connections come through to us.
Not so far.
No, I think it's a good idea, Rory.
Okay, so why don't you and Andrea, talk about what's required, and we can get that in place and try and make this a little bit easier process for everyone involved.
Okay, I'll try to put something together, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here, Greg.
Have a good night, guys.
Andrea, could you make me a co-host so that I can share my screen?
Oh, I would love to. You are so good at that. And when I share my screen, I don't see the panel, I don't see the attendees, and I'm waiting for our favorite former chairman.
Okay, I will try and keep an eye on that as well, so. Next up is 1 to 106 Gaslight Lane. This is the Gaslight Village condominium complex.
Who is here for that? Please raise your hand.
It's Sean Riley.
Okay, I'm moving him up. Okay, Sean.
Okay, Sean, you're up. Oh, you're muted.
Unmute yourself, Sean.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. For the record, Sean Riley with Coastal Engineering, representing the applicant on what we feel is a pretty straightforward project. Good segue into this. The sewer is going right down the middle of Gaslight Lane. And the only real work that we're doing within any of the buffers is within the 200 feet of the riverfront for approximately the last 40 feet. You can see that we're just outside of the 100-foot buffer for the line that's running down the middle of the road. We are going to install a silt fence along the edge of the roadway. It should only take about less than a week to do that section of work that runs along the buffer zone. And I know you have a long agenda, so I'll just open it up to any questions you may have.
So I don't, I was out at the site. It's a very level site. It does drop off the roadway about 20 feet, but by that point, it's beyond the erosion control. So I think that this is a pretty straightforward approach here.
Sean, this is Carol. What could go wrong?
Really, if you've been down Foundry Street, they just installed the main all the way down Foundry Street. And there really isn't a whole lot that can go wrong because we're in the pavement. And it's actually curb and gutter as well. So any of the sediment would stay within the roadway. And we're going to have some catch basin protection with silt sacks in the basins. So there really isn't a whole lot that can go wrong.
Right. And are they on a schedule of getting cleaned out, those silt sacks?
Yes, they will be. And again, the process should only take a couple of weeks to do the entire project. So we don't anticipate this being open very long.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, Sean, when you say a couple weeks to do the whole project, I believe you're probably talking about the south side of Foundry too. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't want to, the minutes should reflect that this side is probably going to take a week, and then the south side, maybe another week.
Right.
Any other questions from the board?
I agree. I mean, it looks straightforward to me, so.
No comments from me either.
Any comments from the public on 1 to 106 Gaslight Lane? So raise your hand in the
If you have trouble finding how to raise your hand, then send me a question.
Okay, so seeing none, I will make a motion to issue a negative RDA for 1 to 106 Gaslight Lane as proposed.
Spady, a second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Excellent. So the next project up, is this you, Sean, as well?
Yes, it is.
So this is 1 to 47 Lamplighter Lane. It's the development across the roadway, essentially, from the first project. So I assume we're in the same situation here.
We are. Although this is a little more straightforward in that we are proposing a lift station and we'll be directionally drilling an 1.5-inch pipe from the lift station all the way to the termination point, which you'll see is highlighted in gray at the top of the screen. So that area that's highlighted in gray will be the area of excavation to the termination point of where the force main will be directionally drilled to. There'll be a sewer manhole installed, and then the final connection out to Foundry. But the rest of the work is done underground with no open excavation. The lift station is well outside of the buffer, and we didn't want to really open everything up to lay this pipe all the way down and have to repave everything. So with only 1.5-inch pipes, we figured we'd just directionally drill it from one end to the other.
So just repeat, so you're gonna go all the way to the, from the sewer inlet to, all the way to the street?
Yeah, all the way to right there at that manhole. So they'll open up that area where that manhole is going.
Yep.
And that will be the receiving point that they will push the directional drill through to, and then pull the pipe back through the excavation that the drill makes, and pull that all the way back to where the lift station is, down the bottom of the page.
So I'm gonna anticipate Carol's question here. What could go wrong in the directional drilling, and what would you have to do to fix it at that point?
Yep. So there's 4 or 5 crossings that you see. There's catch basins a little bit lower, yeah, right in there. There's a couple catch basins with some drain pipes that we've gotten the inverts to. So we have a very good idea of where they are. There's water crossings that's just below that, right? But we're right below where it says Lamplighter Lane. Yeah. So we've got a crossing there. And then we've got a little bit of an electric crossing, which all this is going to be dig sicked out. So those are really the only crossings that we have in any proximity to the wetland resource area and the buffer zone. So if we have to, we'll open up the road to confirm those locations at those crossings. But I would say that's the only other excavation that may be potential within that area of the buffer zone.
Do you think you'd have to have additional erosion control, or sufficient erosion control if you had to open up the roadway?
No, we've carried the erosion control all the way down along the edge of the roadway and outside of the buffer. So to accommodate any potential road openings that we may need, just to confirm the crossings.
So,
So again, because it's in the roadway, I don't see that there's going to be any issues.
Right. So my personal observation is that, and you can see it by some of the topos on here, that it's relatively flat off the roadway, even into this into the no disturb zone here. It's relatively flat off the roadway, about 10 or 15 feet. So I think with the erosion control right on the edge of roadway, I think we're probably in good shape here. So. Anybody on the board have any questions?
Yeah, I do. This is Carol, Sean. So I'm reminded the last couple of days we've had some pretty big downpours. The silt socks that are in the catch basins, do you wait until a good rain to remove those socks so that you can be sure that all material has washed off the road? How does that work?
So at the end of the day, they're closing up the work that they do. So really it would just be the width of the area that they have open that would have any potential to have any silt runoff. So again, with the timing of how long this opening would be. It's only going to be a few days that they would have that open, and it's such a small area to maintain and oversee. So they would probably clean those out if there's any rain event.
So, I mean, okay, that sounds fine.
Any other questions from the board?
I guess I have one question is, so when you do HDD, usually you want to do it straight, right?
Yep.
And it looks like we got a somewhat of a bend over at the cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
Yes, there is a bend, and I've already met with several contractors.
Yeah.
To see if they could accommodate that.
Okay.
And with only 1.5-inch pipe,
Yeah.
they can bend it pretty good.
Okay.
And it's the flexible HDPE pipe that comes in the roll.
Line, yep.
So it's a continuous length of pipe with no few sections.
All right. Well, if they're confident they can pull it off, otherwise, you know, you might want to have a second backup plan for an entry and exit point.
And if there was, it would probably be within the cul-de-sac point there.
Right.
That's all got erosion control.
Right.
Off the side of the roadway.
Yeah, that could be a contractor adjustment if they can't pull it off.
Okay.
Just for the record, just note that Stefan Cotino did join us in the last couple of minutes.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
So is there any public comment? I'm sorry, any other board comment? Any public comment on 1 to 47 Lamplighter Lane? Okay, so seeing none, I will make a motion to issue negative termination of applicability for 1 to 47 Lamplighter Lane as proposed.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Cotino abstained just because I missed the vast majority of the hearing.
Okay, all set, Sean.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Next up is a request for determination of applicability for 10 Balsam Lane.
I'm promoting Dave Clenart to panelist because he's the only one I see from Collins Engineering. Dave, can you confirm that you are here for this project?
You need to unmute yourself, Dave.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Can you speak to 10 Lamplighter, or did I
10 Balsam.
tell
10
them
Balsam.
Balsam?
Are you here for 10 Balsam, Dave?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So you're up.
All right.
I can bring up the plans here.
So this is a request for a determination of applicability. This is a system that has been repaired back in 2012, and it has failed. And so that would work better with the soils here. The system is completely in. The wetlands are located to the in the southwest corner of the property, and they come up into the property. There is a 50-foot and 100-foot buffer. 100-foot buffer is right about the house area. The only real work that's going to be done inside the buffer zones will be the entrance and the exit for the vehicles. We do propose a silt fence that goes along the southern portion of the driveway between the driveway and the wetland line. And this will be maintained throughout construction. The other silt fence will follow the property line up the hill around the work limit around the septic system and back down the hill, and then over the corner. So it will essentially be enclosed. All the mechanisms for the septic system are in, and so the only thing that will be replaced is the field, which is quite a ways outside the 100-foot buffer. Now, there was an existing, or there, I should say, there is an existing order of conditions on this property from 2012, and I had Lorraine send or add to permitize the book and page. It was recorded, so it is in the registry. This would have to be finalized, I believe, once this work is complete. I know that there were some things missing, like the disc. I didn't see any of the disc locations on the old plan, but I assume that they ran right along the woods and along the lawn area, along the woods where the wetlands are. And those, if that's where they were or were intended to be, will certainly be in place. And I noticed that the last comment that was out there was some debris in the wetland area, or some grass clippings, or some debris that needs to be cleaned up. In order to get the order of conditions off the property, the property owner, he will be aware of that issue, that he needs to clean that out.
Yep, so I have no questions. Anybody on the board have any questions?
Sure, this is Carol. David, I'm just curious, I hope that we all are, what happened to the system that was repaired not that long ago and it's failed again?
You know, I don't know. I just know that George had failed it, and we are using a different type of configuration, a quick floor configuration. These are prefab units that are made for septic systems, and these are a little bit more, they're a little bit more robust. They'll help with the soils as opposed to the last leaching system, which we used an ARC 36. So it could have been the chamber, it could have been what they were putting into the system. You know, it could have been a number of things that failed the system. I couldn't point to the exact problem of why it failed. We're using the same water tables and you know, the same criteria, but we're changing out the materials, and we're changing out the infiltrators.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
If I may, Rory,
Sure.
I just want to thank Collins Engineering for taking a look at the older order of conditions. David, the way the decisions were written then, the permanent markers went right at the limit of work. So it's pretty close to the lawn area, but you should put the markers where the limit of work was. And then if the commission has not been out to the site, the debris is off of Balsam Lane and you know, heading down the slope into the wetland. It's unfortunate that it's on this person's property. It may or may not been this landowner, but it's his property. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks. Yep.
Any public comment on 10 Balsam Lane? Either send in a Q&A or raise your hand. Okay, so seeing none, I would make a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability as proposed. Just noting that the applicant, who has acknowledged that there is an outstanding order of conditions from the 2012 project.
Contino, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Contino, aye.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up is 166 Massapoag Ave. This is a notice of intent for a repair, a septic repair.
I actually don't see Driscoll Engineering. Can anybody identify themselves as the project? Patrick, thank you. Okay. Patrick is coming on as a panelist. I don't know who Patrick is. I'm sure he'll give you his full name.
Okay, Patrick, you just got to unmute yourself.
Okay, here we go. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you all doing?
Good. Do you want to you want control of the screen? You want me to do it, or what do you want?
No, you can do it. My laptop's a little slow.
Okay. Your project is up on the screen now.
Yep.
So
I got it. Okay, so this is a septic system repair at 166 Massapoag Ave. As you can see on the plan, we have a couple of resource areas out in the back. We have a bordering vegetated wetland. We have a certified vernal pool within the wetland, and we also have a flood zone, which is within the vernal pool in the wetland. We've designed the system in the rear yard, which is mostly existing lawn area. The trees and the brush that will be removed are mostly rhododendrons that were planted by the homeowner. So we've got a combination septic tank and pump chamber to try to limit the amount of disturbance behind the house. And that'll pump over into a bed of ARC 36 leaching chambers. We're surrounding 3 sides of the system with a poly barrier in order to reduce the slope and the grading that's required for covering to meet breakout. We have the work area surrounded with erosion control barrier. We also have a dewatering basin shown in case they need it, which they shouldn't this time of year. And that's really the basics of the plan. We're also proposing markers to be set on the existing fence, which goes around the yard area within the property. So, those are the basics of the plan, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
If I may interrupt, Patrick, can I have your full name for the record?
Sure, it's Patrick Carrara, Carrara.
And I just want the commission to know that although my report doesn't say so, the butter notification has been provided. And we have a DEP file number. My latest staff report is not here, but the plan that you see on the screen to the north, on the highest purple line, which looks like it delineates a fence, is actually the edge of the certified vernal pool according to the town boundary, town regulations. The wetland scientist found the water line as appropriate. And then because this property was pre-disturbed, we could use the edge of lawn or the fence line as the vernal pool boundary. It's a certified vernal pool in an ACEC. That's just my issues. Sorry.
And we did design the system to maintain the 101-foot setback from the certified vernal pool per Title V.
But the vernal pool boundary is the fence
The
line.
local boundary is the fence, yeah.
I was under the impression the local boundary would be the edge of existing lawn, or is the tree cover, does the lawn extend to the fence and that's just canopy?
Yes, correct, Stefan. I considered the lawn, there might be trees in there, but they're maintained, manicured, landscaped. It's not naturalized.
So where's the existing system?
Right in the backyard where we're putting the new system, more or less.
Okay.
It was an old pipe and stone leaching field, and it was hydraulically filled, but it was also in the groundwater table.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
Sure, this is Carol. I think you are probably reading my mind and knowing that I want to ask, given the critical nature of the environment nearby the site, if this might be an opportunity for us to do, I don't want to ruffle feathers or get into a policy discussion, with the Board of Health, but maybe this is an opportunity to put in a better system that is a kind of a self-enclosed water treatment plant that releases less nitrogen than a typical Title V unit would.
Yeah, Carol, just I back that too, because I was just thinking that we should definitely look into that.
So remind me of the resources here again.
Certified vernal pool, bordering vegetated wetland, Canoe River ACEC. I'd also like to remind the commission of your policy on simplified sewer system repairs, that maximum extent practicable when it's an upgrade.
Right, so I think that the difference between this and the one time that we did that was a new construction. And so I think that I think we're following our own guidelines. And once again, I think if we were to go down this road, we're going to have to issue some new simplified guidelines and create some exceptions for some of these things if that's what we want to do. And as I've said before, my own opinion is that we'll have to do this in conjunction with the Board of Health to be sure. But I think given that it meets the standards for the simplified septic repair NOIs, I think I'm inclined to move forward as designed, acknowledging that I understand the concern.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Roy. This is Commissioner Contino. And yeah, while we do have some precious resources in the area, the current system we have in place with simplified septic, I think has to kind of rule the day here. And it'd be great to see, some guidelines developed around those low nitrogen systems, because I think they can be great where they can be used.
I guess I'm leaning towards more Rory and Stefan here too, because I mean it's going to be a replacement of an existing system with an existing lawn. So when it comes to those kind of things, I think I'd be leaning towards more retrofitting or upgrading whatever was there previously, and then just making it a better system. Overall improvement.
Yeah,
Right.
no question. There's already this is a better system than it's there. There's no question about that. So, but I do agree. And Carol, we ever get a and that's probably something we should really target on getting onto somebody's agenda. It's just a very difficult time to I think try and do that remotely. But I do agree that is something that has a lot of value given all the areas within town that are subject to these very sensitive impacts. So, so I'm inclined to move forward as is. Is there any public comment on 166 Massapoag? And by the way, I've had a couple of conversations this week with Andrea, and she said Massapoag correctly every single time I talk to her. So. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to issue a permit for work and order conditions for 166 Massapoag. I don't think that, the one thing, please note, you need to require that the landscape debris behind the fence line be removed. There's actually two different, there's a landscape debris and then there's this other pile of, it's got some drawers from a dresser in it. So I don't know if I'm gonna call that landscape debris. So all debris outside the fence line is to be removed. And no further dumping in the wetlands will be identified as a perpetual condition. And obviously you already spoke about the permanent markers being located on the fence, so.
Catino, second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin abstain.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, I.
Catino, aye.
Okay, so it's a 4-0-1. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up is 6 Randall Farm Drive.
I'm gonna bring Laura up to a panelist. She can talk about her project. And I have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. So, so welcome tonight. Being you're not an engineer, we'll take it a little bit easy on you.
Thank you.
We'll help you through this.
Great.
So this is a notice of intent for an above ground pool, and there's a small deck to go around, I think, 3 sides of the pool as well.
Yes.
From my understanding. The resource area on this, there's a stream that's behind the property that also has an associated bordering vegetated wetland. It's probably about 25 feet off of the landscape portion of the property, which you can see here in this picture. That you can see to the right of this is where it starts to slope off down into the BVW. This is from observation from Andrea and myself being out in the field. And so the disturbance here is probably pushing up against the 50-foot buffer zone in this property. The intent is to also have a fence, obviously required by town regulation to have a fence around the pool. And I think the intent is to have it extend around 3 sides of the backyard and give them a little bit room around it. So that's a very high level understanding of what I have about the pool. So I don't know if you want to tell us anything else, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, some flexibility in terms of the fence, and if the fence is potentially getting too close to that area, there's probably some other options that we could do in terms of having the fence just around the pool versus making it kind of around part of the yard. And we would be looking to do a saltwater filtration system. And yes, I think you're correct in terms of the deck on 3 sides. Mainly 2, and then the little stairway kind of up to the pool.
Right. I think that the other thing is probably from our concern is we'd want to see some sort of gravel splash pad to allow for any water that gets out of the pool to be caught right there and not drain off anywhere. The backyard is relatively level, as you can see there. There's a couple feet slope, but it's not. It doesn't really slope off until you get off the landscape portion of the property. So.
I did actually upload very last minute some information in terms of the waiver and what we would do for mitigation. So I did add in there that we would put the gravel underneath the deck as a splash guard.
Right. I did see that. I actually have it here. Go ahead.
While he's looking for that, I just want to note that the as-built plan from the late 90s showed a brook line 90 feet away from the property line, did not acknowledge that there was an extensive wetland along that. And so it's that wetland line that, Rory and I are talking about, that's within 10 to 25 feet off of the native vegetation. But it's roughly 50 feet from where, it's roughly 45 feet or so from where the fence line will be inside the lawn where the pool is.
The waiver that was submitted, it was, if anybody hasn't had a chance to view it, I can actually stop this share and start a new one. Talking about she's, there are some alternatives as far as placement of the fence. She is opting to go with a saltwater pool filtration, and she wants to install the gravel under the deck as a splash guard, and she's committing to replace any plants in the event of damage due to breach in the pool structure. Public interest, there is some invasive plants in the perimeter of the lawn line. She's looking to manage those invasive plants, and even if necessary, replace some native plants if required to control them. So in general, I'm in favor of this project. I think the applicant has probably given us a good solution here, and is trying to be a good steward of the environment at the same time, being able to utilize their backyard for recreation manner consistent. So. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Cotino. I just have a question as far as, is the pool going to interface with the existing deck, or is it totally separate from it?
Separate is the intent.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, just like a step, it would be a few steps away from that. So it would not be part of the existing deck.
Okay. As part of the alternatives, did you guys look at, on the side of the pool that's along the wetland line, did you look at a smaller deck, like, 6-foot deck on those two sides, which still gives you plenty of space for moving around, but it gets you, closer to that 50 feet away from the resource area?
We did. My thinking was enough space for a chair and people to walk by safely was what I was looking at from a measuring perspective. But if that's a potential barrier to getting this approved, then we could certainly look at a different kind of measurement that would work better.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about past, pool projects where we've, had people move out of like 100 foot to a riverfront, shift their pool orientation a little bit like that, and just making sure we're consistent on those kinds of things. I don't know what the rest of the commission feels about that.
Right, this is Carol. Laura, I wondered if you have looked into at all using an ultraviolet pool sanitizer system.
I have not.
The reason I ask is that I've seen an above ground pool collapse and all the water ran into my yard. And, everything fails. No matter, whenever we purchase a new thing, it's always the most recent, best, newest technology. But, things do fail, especially things that are out in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So given the proximity to our resource areas, I would like to encourage the use of a sanitization system that, in case of a collapse, would do the least damage to the resource.
Okay.
Salt is a big plant killer. Chlorine, I'm not really sure how plants respond to chlorine, but I just wonder if a UV system might, fit in your budget and also be better in case of a collapse.
So,
I can't tell you if it fits in the budget because I have no idea how much something like that costs, but I'm certainly happy to research that.
Yeah, thank you. I was just reading a little while ago, they can go from anywhere to $300 to $400 to $2,000 with an average for this particular company of $500 to $600.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I appreciate putting down gravel as a splash guard, but if water does spill out, gravel will let the water run through very quickly, as will sand. So I'm wondering if we want to have some kind of soil put around the pool that's heavier in organic matter that will, act like Klingons and attract the various chemicals in the water. Any other thoughts about that?
Just a question on that. Would it be even enough to stop that much water rushing out all at once?
That's a good
I mean,
question.
I hear the idea and I'm all about it. It's just,
Well,
I mean, I've seen them.
can I just interject here?
Absolutely.
We've been pretty consistent with, gravel as kind of a splash area, and it's not designed to stop a failure. It's for when people are splashing around the pool, there's a big rain event, and there's a certain amount of overflow in the pool. We're not, we're not designing, flood barriers. We're just designing something that's going to kind of more easily drain away the splash and overflow from rain events.
Understood. And I want us to protect our resources in the event of a collapse. And I'm just wondering if something like adding more organic soils might help because of the proximity.
Well, I just don't think that it's a high probability event. So I think the pool designer is responsible for making sure that they design something that's structurally sound and isn't going to collapse. If we start designing things around catastrophic events all the time, then we're going to have castles for pools, and I think it's just a little. I think it's a little overbearing for the particular project. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Laura, you offered to look into the UV system.
I will, yes.
any other comments from the commission?
So I guess my only other question is regarding the knotweed management. Is that something that you would be willing to take on as yourself, or would you hire somebody to do that work?
The invasive plants?
Yeah.
Our landscaper, we use Sean Flynn. He's already been to our property and already gave me a quote on what it would cost to have that removed.
And he has an invasive, management license. I think that you need to have one of those nowadays.
I don't know that he does. I know who she uses as a contractor, and he has a good track record in town.
Okay. As long as it has a good track record, then I'm comfortable with it.
All right. So do we know what methods the contractor would use if it's using pesticides or manual techniques?
I believe manual. I don't think pesticides. But I'm also happy to confirm that with him as well.
That would be terrific. Thank
You
you.
talked about clearing them out, so based on everything else that he's done for us, I don't think that he would use pesticides for that. But
Yeah, if he says clearing them out, he's probably going to get them by the root system, the rhizomes.
yeah. And based on the price that he gave me, I'm pretty sure it's not pesticides. So.
Okay, great comments, everybody. Any public comment on 6 Randall Farm Road? Seeing none.
Do you have the DEP file number for this one?
They did get it. It got uploaded like an hour before the meeting. So yes.
All right.
Thank you for pointing that out. So go ahead.
I was going to say, if we, shrink that deck a little bit just to target the 50 feet, staying out of the 50 foot, I'm on board with all the other, mitigation and everything.
So that means the fence specifically.
Bring the
Well, the deck around the pool.
Okay.
Well, I think it's the fence. It's in the 50 foot. not the
Okay,
deck itself.
maybe I misunderstood that then.
I think it's the fence.
So I guess how far away is the actual pool deck? It's hard to tell without we don't really have it marked anywhere.
Can you go back to the?
I actually suggested, it's kind of an unusual process or sequence, but I actually suggested that I as a condition, meet the contractor outside on the site to install the erosion control at your limit of work, and then move everything back from there. So if you want the fence line at 50 feet, then we move everything back to that point. So I think if you give us it's almost a performance standard base.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I totally misunderstood that. I thought we were saying that the pool deck was like 45 feet away from the resource area, but it's well outside the 50 foot.
I think the fence line is going to be what, Laura, if the wetland line is 25 feet from the back of the trampoline, how far from the back of the trampoline is your fence line or your deck?
Well, we can make it aligned with the end of the deck. We can make the fence align with the end of the deck. I'm just trying to, I don't know how far it is from the end of where the trampoline is to the grass line. I'm really bad at giving an estimate, so I don't want to say the wrong thing.
It's probably 15 or 16 feet, Rory.
I think the trampoline is 16 feet, so.
There you go.
It's bigger, it's a little bit bigger than that. Maybe it's 18 feet.
Yeah, so we're at about that 45 foot is where it is now.
Is where the lawn begins.
About.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I dragged us down a path here. I'm fine with the fence going where the edge of lawn is existing and the deck where it is.
Okay, I'm inclined to make a motion with a series of conditions that we can then condition this in a manner that allows us to give the homeowner a couple of paths to go down and limit what they can and can't do. And also, keep Andrea involved in making sure she knows where the fence is going once she's out on site with the contractor, which Andrea has graciously offered to assist on. So, is there an appetite for that here?
I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to, Laura, I assume you want us to close the hearing and vote, so.
Yeah, do I have to ask for that?
No, I have to offer it though, really.
Okay, yes, please.
So I'm gonna make a motion to issue a permit for work and order conditions for 6 Randall Farm Road for installation of above ground pool and associated deck, giving the homeowner the alternative of using sanitization of either salt water or UV, and also gonna add in the gravel splash guard underneath the decking in order to control any overflow out of the pool, minor overflow. Andrea is given permission to work with the contractor to establish the erosion control line and establishment of the fence line out in the field. The control of the invasives will be done manually by the applicant's contractor. How many seasons should she's going to have to do that for 2 or 3 seasons?
Yes.
so for 2 or 3 seasons, to maintain control there.
Repeat
Any other
that,
condition?
2 or 3 consecutive, or just over time it goes back?
2 or 3, you're gonna wanna do it consecutively to get them under control.
Okay,
If you don't, it's just gonna come back way worse.
okay.
Any other conditions?
If I may, the landscaper should submit a management plan for controlling the invasive species, identify the type, and then the methods he's gonna use over the period of time.
Noted. The one other thing that I do want to put in here is that I want to note that any delineation of the wetland in this case applies only to this project and cannot be used for any other project. If you have some other project comes before us, you're going to have to get a wetland scientist to get out there and do that. So I just, Andrea's offering her services to help, but I don't want that to have us held to that at some point in the future. So
Understood.
This is Carol. I would like to suggest that we be very specific about the length of time, within 2 or 3 years. I would prefer that we make it 3, make it very specific and measurable for best results.
3 years on the invasive species management. Amended. Thank you.
Catino second,
Okay.
unless,
Anybody on permanent markers?
Not yet, maybe?
So we want to put, we just put them on the fence.
I may end up doing the fence directly on the deck instead of making it in the yard, it will save some space anyways. I just need to have someone, so putting that on the fence may not make sense because it may be part of the actual structure.
So permanent markers either at the edge of lawn every 30 feet, or if you put the fence there, they can be on the fence.
Is that something I do? No.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make that decision in the field because Rory, the trampoline is on the other side of the fence.
Yep.
So I assume
locations to be determined by Andrea Langhauser are
Trampoline may find a new home.
edge of disturbance.
Edge of disturbance. Okay, so somebody want to second that amendment?
I'm a second.
second on that amendment. Oh, there you go.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundy, aye.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, I.
Stefan, sorry, you were frozen there for a second.
No worries. Catino, aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Laura, we're all set.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Andrea.
So the next project up is 226 Massapoag.
Can someone raise their hand for who's here for that? I don't recognize the names. Could it be Nick? Anybody want to raise their hand for Massapoag? Well, that makes it easy.
I thought the Pavlovs are the neighbors. Is it the person who's dialed in? Is it possible that they're?
Can somebody please, if anybody wants to type in, or you can't type in. Okay, I guess I'll unmute. How do I allow to talk? The telephone person, please identify which hearing you're here for.
Hi, I'm here for Gaslight.
Thank you. That happened.
Okay, so do we not have somebody here for?
No, for the commission's sake, I did send a couple emails asking if they wanted to continue, and I didn't get an answer, so I expected them here tonight.
So just to give the commission some background here, so this is a notice of intent for a single family dwelling. We lost John Thomas.
No, I'm here.
Okay. Oh yeah, there you are. Sorry. So this is a single family dwelling, extensive wetlands on the property, and there's some discussion. Andrea's actually arranged to do a walkthrough on next Tuesday to confirm the wetland line so that we are quite sure where all our setbacks are, because they're pushing up against the buffer zones here. So I'm not quite sure we could do much on this tonight anyway. So I think at this point we've got to have them do this. They've also got waivers they have to submit and whatnot as well, because we're in all sorts of areas. So this is right down the street from the other one where they were in the ACEC and all sorts of other things. So they've got an ACEC waiver to submit on top of it. So that's where we are in this. I'm not even quite sure. Okay, so we'll continue. Let's make a motion to continue 226 Massapoag.
Spady, a second.
Roll call. Caulfield's aye. Carol?
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Latino, aye.
Okay, so our next hearing up is a continued hearing for 10 Gilberto Way.
I'm sorry, Rory, is this continued for one hearing to the 14th? Would you continue to a date?
I would say continue to the 14th because we don't have any other information. They may not be ready on the 14th if they have to make changes. So, but we'll put it at the 14th for them. Thank you. So we have 10 Gilberto Way. This is the project off of Bay Road and Pheasant Lane.
Scott Rogers, I'm bringing up.
The dual screens of Scott Rogers.
And Rory, you're sharing your screen?
Yep.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up something else too here in a second. Scott, you're all set.
All right, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right, for the record, my name is Scott Rogers, J.K.Holmgren Engineering. We were before you last August 3rd for this particular project, 10 Gilberto Way. So we listened to the commission's concerns and comments, and we've addressed them as follows. We did look at the FEMA flood cert for Pheasant Lane, which is down the street from us. I'll get into this in a tiny bit, but basically her lowest adjacent grade elevation was 164.8. And just for clarification, and so you guys can understand the different elevations, the slab elevation for the garage on this particular project is 174.9. So it's 10 feet higher plus. We also looked at.
Sorry, we can't see your screen.
Yeah, hang on one sec.
Rory's working on it.
We okay now?
I see the waiver request for 6 Randall Farm.
Ah, I have the wrong one. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So go ahead, Scott, sorry. So 174,
Yeah, 174.9 is the garage slab elevation. The house is a foot above that. Finished floor or top of foundation is a foot above that. We also took a look at the fire retention area we had talked about last hearing. And just so we could demonstrate the pre-development and post-development peak runoff rates, we put together a little chart for the existing 2-year, 10-year, 25, and 100, and then compared them to the proposed condition. And there was a decrease, pretty significant decrease for all 4 storm events. We've also shown the snow storage area, which is at the end of the drive, which is on Lot C, which was cut off on the last plan that you guys saw. We also took a peek at the lawn maintenance guidelines that was provided. We did make some modifications, but it was essentially, it's a very similar document to what was provided to us. So that was included with the resubmission. And then, in regards to topography, originally we had used a assumed benchmark of elevation 100. We went back and converted those elevations to NAVD of 88, which was the same elevation, obviously, as the FEMA flood cert, and also the same elevation as what was used for the dam elevation for Kingsley Road. So now everything's on the same datum, and it all kind of makes sense as opposed to being off by 100 feet or 70, whatever the number was before. And then lastly, we basically added in the rest of the trees that were proposed on the project into this plan, into the landscape schedule, so you can see what was proposed for those as well. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions you guys may have.
so first, I think you did hear us loud and clear, Scott, and I do appreciate the efforts you put in. I think that the one that was most telling for me was the stormwater conditions pre and post development actually being improved post development, and the calculations you did there. I think that's very helpful in this situation, and I think that's what we were hoping with the design of these homes that we could achieve, because it's a very sensitive issue. So I appreciate you putting together the calculations that support that, so I think that that's a very positive thing. And I think you've given us all the other information that we asked for here from my perspective. So any other commissioners want to make a comment, question?
Sure, Scott, this is Carol Lundeen. How are you tonight?
Hi, Carol, how are you?
Good. So this project has quite a few documents at the permit eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little confusing keeping track of them. Some may feel it's not that fair to bring up certain kinds of questions at this point. But what really wouldn't be fair would be to improperly implement the regulations. So just to kind of get our heads around where we're at, I'd like to ask you, first of all, I want to be sure we're doing things by the book, and I'd like to ask you some questions.
Sure.
And also, my impression is that you're a big fan of single-family homes and not at all a big fan of Easton's regulations. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Well, there was some comment you made last time that was a little.
So Carol, I never had that issue with Scott, so I'm not quite sure where that's coming from. So
Okay. Sorry, I was just looking for a little levity. So Andrea, do you have a picture I emailed you?
Yes, let me send it to you. Let me share that screen.
Thank you.
She says. Oop. Sorry. We're always faster. Okay.
I don't see it yet.
You're right, it's coming, it's, boom. Apparently got cut off a little bit.
No, that's just how I made it. It looks good. Can
Okay.
you make it a bit larger? Thank you. That's great. Scott, can you see that okay?
I can.
Great, thank you. So if I understand right, the purpose of our wetlands regulations is to conserve and protect the public's interest in wetlands. Values like public, private, and groundwater quality and quantity, flood erosion and sedimentation control, storm damage and water pollution prevention, and wildlife habitat. So my question is, when we take a piece of land that's in a resource area, and the picture on the top is a picture that I took of the property, you know, the proposed building site. So, and we know that, and the bottom is a kind of a representation of what a single family home can look like when we've torn down a resource area and put in a house and put it in a lawn. So I'm not sure that you've answered the burden of proof that the proposed activities will have no impact on any of our wetland values. And that comes from the buffer zone standard of performance section of our regulations.
I mean, my own personal opinion is that I think this applicant has done everything needed for this project. I think they've put forth a plan that is cognizant of the wetland regulations, and they have addressed all of our impact questions, especially related to stormwater. That were some of our major concerns on this piece of property, given the extensive wetlands behind this property and the low-lying nature of the neighborhood. You know, I think that, you know, he's identified the trees that are, you know, are being replaced. He's doing the best possible situation for this particular, you know, project. So that's, I mean, I don't, you know, this is one of these things we've disagreed about as far as this absolute no impact. So.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm on the same boat as you, Rory. I mean, I think this applicant has done everything to the extent most practicable within the Wetlands Protection Act and the Easton bylaw. I think they definitely have done enough to get this project approved.
So I have a question for everyone, is that, you know, this home would be in a resource area. So when we permit a new single family home in a resource area, how do we not fail to protect the many interests of our newborn and older children, the many residents who raise them, and future generations? How do you get past this?
I honestly don't know how to answer that question.
I hear a policy question. You know, can work happen in a buffer zone? Yes, buffer zones are identified as wetland resource areas, but are the buffer zones, but the buffer zone performance standards speak to the way they're written, it speaks to allowing development. So I hear a policy question. I don't know if you want to take it up in an application.
Yeah, I agree. That's a much bigger policy question, and I think you have to be cognizant too that if you become too restrictive, we end up with a situation where we're in before, where instead of talking about making improvements to our bylaws, we were fighting for, the life of the bylaw and the regulations. If you take it to the extreme that you're taking it, Carol, then basically nothing can be built anywhere in Easton or done anywhere in Easton. And then you're going to have a whole, pissed off town, and then the Conservation Commission is going to end up in trouble, I think. So I think they're doing everything they can within the regulations, working within the flexibility that's put forth in our regulations to allow for, construction in these areas. They're not in the 50-foot no disturb, and they're doing everything they can to mitigate the impacts.
Right, thank you for that. So, I would also like to say that we have a presumption that all of our resource areas, including the outer 50 feet where this proposal is, are significant. And they play, by significant, it means they play a role in the provision and protection of our wetland values. And it was the residents, the citizens of Easton that passed this bylaw. So I believe that it was passed because they believed it was in their best interest. And it's our legal responsibility to go by the book and apply the regulations.
And they allow for flexibility in getting things done as long as we feel like that the best is being done to, protect the resource areas. It doesn't say that you cannot do anything anywhere.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, they need to provide that they're doing to the extent most practicable in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act and our bylaw. If they conform to that and they comply with most of the regulations, it should be an acceptable project. And in this case, for this project itself, I think they've done it.
So then what happens with the burden of proof?
I just want to point out that there is a waiver requirement in an ACEC for any structures within 100 feet of a wetland, any pervious or any impervious structures. That's in an ACEC. The converse logically must mean that if you're not in an ACEC, then you don't need a waiver to construct within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. And they mean, I think it has to be interpreted as the wetland, not the buffer zone.
Right, thank you. So, another aspect of this is that besides the ACEC versus not, is that the standard of proof for a non-ACEC is lower than the standard of proof than ACEC. One, for the ACEC, it's a proof beyond doubt standard, and for the others, as in this case, it's a preponderance of the evidence standard of proof, that there will be no adverse effects on any values. That comes right from our buffer zone standard of performance standard section. So I really feel like I'm just looking at the regulations and wanting to apply them. And many of you are saying that as long as an applicant does well enough.
Well, I think our position and my position, I won't speak for anyone else, is that the applicant has provided, preponderance of evidence that he's not going to impact the wetland resources. I believe he's met that standard. If I didn't, I wouldn't vote for the project.
Okay.
And Carol, and I agree, Rory, in thinking about this and having a hard time with it as well, because obviously it's impacting forest, it's impacting, the deers and the bugs and all that stuff, and I get that, but he has met what he needed to meet, and it's just, that's it. Our hands are tied to them.
Well, I don't believe our hands are tied. I think we're doing our job. I don't believe that we don't, that we haven't asked the applicant to provide us with the information necessary for us to be able to make that decision. And I believe they have done so.
Right. So I respect your opinion about that. I would add that in the Massachusetts Association of Conservation of Commissioners Wetlands Buffer Zone Guidebook, the credible scientific evidence burden of proof they're looking for is things like impacts to prevention, pollution for sediment, nitrogen, phosphorus, pesticides, and heavy metals, buffer widths and slope adjustments, and recommended buffer widths to protect inland aquatic resources for riparian function and wildlife. These are all examples of appropriate burden of proof evidence that the MACC recommends that all commissions use.
That's great. We haven't adopted that, and I think that's a bigger policy discussion for a separate thing, not to be implemented in the middle of the project.
Yeah, so this book came into being during my training and certification. So I personally am adopting it.
That's fine. You as an individual commissioner are totally free to interpret it and apply it however you wish. So I mean, if you don't feel like you can vote for that, you can vote against it. But I think a lot of these discussions are bigger policy issues that the commission is going to have to take up when there's time to have some of those deeper discussions.
Okay, let's move on.
Anybody else, any other commissioners have any questions? I'm sure that there are, do any of the participants, attendees have any comments, questions from the public? Just raise your hand. Okay, so.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're Aaron Hooker Thomas. You just identify yourself and whatever your question is.
Yep, Aaron Hooker Thomas, 4 Pheasant Lane. I just have a question because I know eventually this is going to go through, and I just want to make sure that there's going to be some kind of signs because eventually Holmgren will be gone, McLaughlin will be gone, and new homeowners will be there. Just to let them know that there are wetlands and it is potentially going to impact the houses that are down from that area. Just calling attention to the wetlands, to the new homeowners that will eventually move into this property once they start building.
So Scott, have permanent markers been proposed here at all?
Yeah, they're on the plan that is currently before you.
Okay.
They're at the 50-foot no disturb zone.
Yep, no, I see it on there now. They're little circles. Yep.
To the question and the comment there.
In many cases, that's at the that's at the 100-foot, or on lot C, it's actually at the 100-foot. So.
Thank you. That's I just noticed that in my staff report.
So, so yes, it is. There are permanent markers on the site that will identify it as wetlands.
And then those signs will call attention that it cannot be disturbed. And if you have any questions, call conservation or something to that effect. Correct?
Well, I don't think that's been our standard. Scott, what kind of notice are you putting up there?
I can defer to what the Conservation Commission would request, and I don't know we've done this on all the projects I've worked on. I just don't know what the wording is. I haven't seen one that's actually been installed, but I know we just did one for Billy Papadopoulos on Turnpike, 290 Turnpike. So I guess I would defer to Andrea. She must have wording that we've been doing.
Aaron, the marker says Easton Wetlands, and so it doesn't go into long narratives.
Okay.
To the question, that's something we've kind of how do we inform when property changes hands and such things, and we've talked about ideas such as asking realtors to include what's in their new homeowner packages, but that's a tough thing to enforce when properties change hands and getting that information passed over.
Right, so that was kind of my question, if it could say something to the effect like, wetlands do not disturb, something to that effect that calls attention, like you shouldn't be dumping your grass here and debris.
Trying to think of the language that might work. I mean, he'd have to, I mean, the medallions that are typically used are sort of freely or generally available. We'd have to work on some other verbiage. Any thoughts from anybody? John, have you used anything along that line?
I mean, I've used some in the past. Typically, we just put contact information on it. Do not disturb wetlands. Wetland boundary, do not disturb with contact information on it.
Yeah, I like that.
So how big, John, would do it?
They're very small little plaques, probably no more than like a softball size.
So like 3 by 3 or 4 by 4, or in diameter or something like that.
Yeah.
So Scott, would you be willing to use Easton Wetlands do not disturb, contact Easton Conservation Commission?
Yeah, I'm sure we can work something out with Andrea. I guess, short of being called uncooperative or anything, I just would like to have some consistency between what we're doing on every project, I guess. So if there's a standard one, we should use it on all of them, I would think. But if we want to be specific to some sites have different, concerns, we could definitely modify it. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now for this project, I think that it would be helpful.
Okay, that's fine. So that'd be a special condition or a condition in the order?
Yeah, we'll condition it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Carol. Scott, I have a concern about some of your placement of the landscape trees. As an example, in the plans, right to the left of the house, if I remember right, you have 5 white spruce kind of vertically along the edge of the house.
Yeah.
And 4 of them, based on the measurement on the house, I think are within about 26 feet distance, between one end and the other. So you're putting in 4 white spruce in a span of 26 feet. That's about a little over 6 feet on average. White spruce grow to a height of 40 to 60.
8.5.
Okay.
There's three spaces between them. So
Right. Okay. So they grow to a height of 40 to 60 feet and a spread of 10 to 20 feet at maturity. So same thing with some of the white pines along the driveway. They grow to a height of 50 to 80 feet and a spread of 20 to 40. So I don't see that as a viable design.
If you so desire, I could look at spacing them out further. The idea being that when you plant them, they're not necessarily super big. So if you plant them for the mature size, you're going to be waiting 20 years to see any kind of effect. That's why when we do landscape plans, we like to put them, somewhere in the middle between putting them 3 feet on center and 50 feet on center. You kind of have to figure out what's kind of an average, or you're looking for that somewhat immediate effect, but not something that's going to take 20 years to grow together. But I could space them out if that's a concern. And just
anyone else?
no, man, I think that it's one of those happy medium things that I think the homeowner 20 years from now is going to have to take down every other one, or they'll be wanting to take down more than that. So, but.
Yeah, my guess is 20 years, 30 years down the road, they're going to want to probably take one or two of those trees down.
If they've even made it that long, they're getting blown down.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Any other comments? Anybody from the public want to make any comments?
I just have another question. the bioretention area, those, I know that there was I believe 90% survival rate of the trees they're going to plant, but will there be an inspection of the bioretention areas in that runoff area for the next couple of years as well?
Andrea, do you have any feedback for us on that? Was anything submitted?
It wasn't submitted, but that's a condition you can easily add for, usually we keep monitoring a 75% rate to the buffer zone restoration and the wetland area, but you can add it for anywhere you want to. Obviously, the bioretention area is the area that's most likely to succeed because it's got water directed into it.
So do we normally do it for 3 years?
We usually do a 3 years or 75% success rate, whichever comes sooner.
Okay, so we'll include the bioretention area. It's functioning. Okay. Anything else? Anything, any other public comments? Just raise your hand, we can invite you in. Okay, so seeing none, I am going to make a motion to issue a permit for work and order conditions for 10 Gilbert Way, DEP 152-1617, Easton 1587. Noting the conditions in the staff report, and also noting in the annual monitoring of the vegetation, include the bioretention area function for 3 years or 75% success rate. Also note that the permanent markers are meant to be a 3 to 4 inch in size sign that indicates Easton wetlands do not disturb, contact Easton Conservation Commission.
I second that.
Roll call vote, Caulfield's aye.
Blondine, nay.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
Okay, so 4-1. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Ms. Hooker Thomas, I do appreciate your comments and all the input that you've given us on this. It's been appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take care, Scott.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next up is, so I'm going to take something out of order in the agenda just because it impacts one of our certificate of compliance. So I want to talk about the land donation of parcel A 348 Foundry Street from William Humphrey. So this is related to the 9 Bradford Street project, and part of the conditions of this project was a donation of about 3.71 acres of woodlands.
Page 45 of your binder. Do you want me to share the screen?
I can share it if you want to have it up here.
What page is it?
45.
Thank you.
Just give me 1 second. So this is Foundry Street here at the north. The south side is Bradford Street. It's a cul-de-sac. The property has a driveway easement into this lot here where a single-family home has been constructed. A partial certificate of compliance was given back in March, and there were 3 or 4 items that needed to be rectified. Part of that also was this land donation for this part of this parcel that's on the left-hand side here. So that is that has been I believe it's been reviewed by town council, and I believe we're ready to sign off on this and submit it to the select board to accept it. So does anybody have any questions about it? Or we take a vote to accept it?
If I could just add, I know you're not asking any questions, but for those of you that weren't here at the time, the parcel immediately to the west, 16R105, is owned by the town Conservation Commission. Then there's the utility line of National Grid, and the next parcel to the west is Mass Fish and Game. It's the Hockomock. We're in the Hockomock Swamp ACEC, and so this expands the undeveloped land associated with the Hockomock Swamp Wildlife Management Area.
This is a connection through already undeveloped land, so it's an excellent opportunity for us to add 3.7 acres into.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
inventory.
contiguous parcels are always nice.
Yes.
It also has a vernal pool on it that's likely to be certified.
Ooh, very nice.
Great.
So I will, if there's any public comment on this, I'm happy to take it. So seeing none, I make a motion to accept the land donation of parcel A, 348 Foundry Street.
Thomas second.
All those in, oh, I'm sorry. Roll call vote. Caldwell's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Los Cotino.
Oh,
Stefan, you there? Okay.
although I guess my connection's bad.
There you go. Yeah. You got a Cotino eye on that?
Can you hear me?
It's off and on.
Cotino I, can you hear me?
Yeah, that one we got.
You got it.
That's
Official,
5-0.
it's in the book.
Persistence pays off.
I think my headset died on me or something.
Okay, so now we can go to 9 Bradford Street. This is the full certificate of compliance for 9 Bradford Street, which is a single-family home. And as Andrea alluded to, what was left on this was they needed to seed and loam the lawn, and they were waiting to submit there were 2 vernal pools on this property, potential vernal pools that have been submitted to the state for approval. They haven't gotten to it yet, but it has been submitted, so they met their burden, and the land donation here as well. I believe everything is in order now. We should issue a certificate of compliance. Anybody have any questions?
There were 4 perpetual conditions, which you can see in the are identified in the staff report. Maintaining the fence and permanent markers, maintaining pavement and lawn with sustainable practices, prohibiting use of road salts, and removing any debris material in wetlands. It's page 16.
Big scroll is going on right now. So, any public comment on 9 Brett? I'm sorry, any commission comment on 9 Bradford? Any public comment on 9 Bradford? Seeing none, make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance to 9 Bradford, noting the perpetual conditions in the staff report, maintain fence and permanent markers, maintain pavement and lawn with sustainable practices, prohibit use of road salts, and remove any debris material.
I'm a second.
Roll call. Caulfield's aye. Carol, you muted?
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, I.
Catino, aye.
Thank you. 64 Gilmore.
64 Gilmore is a septic repair that you approved in June of this year. It was done under an emergency certification. It began before the order was issued because of failure. And I've inspected the property last week, and the markers are installed, the grass stabilizes the work area, and the perpetual condition, no dumping in the wetlands. Conservation Commission is an abutter to this property.
Any questions? Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 64 Gilmore with perpetual condition of no dumping in the wetlands.
Spady, second.
Oh, nice. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye. Yeah.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, I.
Catino. We hear something. Catino, aye?
Catino, aye.
All right. Keeping it clean.
Catino, aye.
Yeah, we're good. So we have 6 Greenfield Street.
I was out at the site on Friday, spoke to the new landowner about the wetland and lawn maintenance. The silt sock is still in place, but I gave him instructions on how to open it up and use the compost. The permanent markers have not been installed, and the engineer called today to say they hope to get them installed in the next 2 weeks, and they will provide proof of the installation. This is an isolated vegetated wetland. And I should note that a small 10 by 10 stone patio was created in the 50-foot area that's residential lawn, 50 feet from the wetland. That's residential lawn. It's in order to have a seating area in the shade. I perceived of that as substantial conformance because it's inside the residential lawn and it's not getting any bigger according to him. So he's not, the markers won't be installed, are not yet installed. So
is there a real estate transaction being held up by this, or are we just trying to close this permit?
No, the new landowner has already moved in. So it must have, it's a condition of the sale, but the transaction went through.
So given our recent history of how we've been handling the certificate of compliance, I'm inclined to continue this till September 14th. Anybody have a feeling one way or the other?
I agree.
I'm here one way or the other, John.
I'm impartial. It doesn't matter to me. We can close it or we can continue it.
Same for me.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to continue to September 14th.
Caulfield's second. Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, I. Catino, aye.
All right. 16 School Street, this is another septic, repair. It was only in front of us a couple months ago.
This was associated with a land transfer. The new owner is in. I spoke with him on Friday about the wetland location and lawn maintenance. This is the one you may all have that good visual of the concrete machine in the wetland has been removed, as has the landscape debris. He's aware of what the permanent markers mean and will not mow the 25-foot buffer zone between the markers and the wetland. It is in an ACEC, and it's an area that's known, it's upstream of an area that's known to flood. So the perpetual conditions were no mowing in the 25-foot buffer zone as opposed to annual mowing, which is what we often do, and 20 and 40 and no dumping in the wetlands. And the mound has been seeded. The seedlings are coming in. Straw is holding it in place. The landowner is watering it on a regular basis. Yes, it's stabilized.
Any comments? Any public comment for 16 School? Seeing none, make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 School Street with the perpetual conditions of no mowing, no dumping in the wetlands, and no mowing beyond the markers in the 25-foot buffer zone allowing to natural.
Thomas, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Speedy, aye.
Thomas, aye. Catino, aye.
Great. So next up is 15 Deborah Lee Lane. This was an application that was before us. I believe we issued a partial certificate, and there was a problem with the missing permanent markers as well as the fence not being moved and allowed a certain aspect of the lawn to revegetate. I was there on Saturday. The permanent markers were in place. I believe that the applicant has also put up a security camera to monitor the permanent markers because they actually did have them removed again by the neighborhood. Someone in the neighborhood, I think, is having a little fun, their version of fun, and they have relocated the fence, and part of the property has started to regrow into natural vegetation, and they're going to reseed it in the spring. And they took the debris out of the wetlands too. That was already gone when I was there on Saturday, Andrea.
Oh, good.
So, the one comment that I do have is that the pool discharge was underneath the fence, pointing towards the potential vernal pool. So I think we should probably make a comment to the applicant to direct their pool discharge somewhere else. But I'm make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 15 Deborah Lee Lane.
Thomas, second.
Just the one thing, just let me just make sure. So that with the perpetual conditions, 1 and 2, mow areas between the permanent markers and the pond edge no more than once a year in the fall, and also the area behind the relocated fence no more than once a year in the fall, and remove any debris in the wetlands. So that's an amendment.
Amended, Thomas, second.
Roll call. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
Excellent. So Andrea, if you could just note to them about the pool discharge.
Sure. I'll send her an email and then put it in her file.
Thank you. So the minutes, let's do the minutes, try to get this done. On the April or August 3rd one, the only thing I saw was on the second page, it says 10 Gilbert Way. I think the proper street name is Gilberta Way. So if we just make that correction. I had no other comments on August 3rd. Anyone? So I make a motion to accept the minutes for August 3rd with the minor changes noted.
Lundin second.
Roll call, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
The minutes for August 10th. So I wasn't, can someone remind me who was present? Because this is a little bit different. It's a font. I don't know if the font's just throwing me off. Because it says attending Rory Caulfield and John Thomas and then absent 3 other people, which I think we were.
Yeah, I haven't missed one yet, so.
Yeah, I was there on the 10th.
Yeah, you were. I actually went back and looked at. They didn't have the view that I could see all the attendees at the time, so I actually will try to go back and review the meeting, but I wasn't going to watch the whole thing.
It was Stefan came in a little bit later, and I'm pretty sure the minutes speak to that.
Right.
Yeah, I missed Owen's scout presentation.
Yeah, it says you arrived around 7.
Yep.
Mike Spadia came in late at 6:45.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's right. So I don't think anybody was absent.
I'm actually unmuted, Tish, if you want to speak to this.
So I think that it just needs to. I think we're all attending. I think you have the right when they arrive, Tish. And I think that the absent part should just say none next to it, just to be clear. And then in the paragraph below that, I have been chairing so many meetings that my name is sort of sprinkled in here, but Stefan actually chaired this meeting. And so there's a couple places where my name is mentioned, but it was actually Stefan. So.
Is that the meeting that you became chair?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the August 10th one. So there's in the paragraph where we go through just sort of the Zoom technology, we're doing an audio video. So April 6th, or the whole thing. So there's just 2 spaces in the last sentence of the first paragraph. Caulfield should be changed to Cautino, and in the last paragraph, which is the 4th of that, is Caulfield should be changed to Cautino. And I think also in the motion for approving the Scout project, it says I made a motion to limit the use of pressure treated wood. I think we made a motion to approve the requested project, noting to limit the use of pressure treated wood without arsenic for footings in the wetland areas.
You talk so fast, I have a hard time.
That's okay. I do talk fast. That's what I do all day long. So I think we want to just change the motion to say Caulfield's made a motion to approve the requested project, comma, noting to, and then pick up where limit the use of pressure treated wood without arsenic for footings in the wetland.
Limit the use of pressure treated wood to what?
That's already in there. So what he's asking is
Oh.
insert the phrase, you want to say it again, Roy, just the phrase you want to insert?
Yeah, so it says Caulfield's made a motion to, and then insert the phrase, approve the requested project, comma, noting to, and we just want to insert that phrase.
That's me.
And one last thing is on the adjournment motion. I think that we were all there. It only registers the roll calls of me, Mike, and John, but I think we were all there, because it says all in favor, so I don't think, I mean, Cautino made the motion, so I assume that he voted on it. So I think it's
Yeah,
just.
I remember voting on it.
Yeah. I think it's just say Cautino, all five of us voted aye, is basically my comment.
Okay,
And
Anybody else
one
have any
thing for me, yeah, just all the minutes, I guess like Arial or Times New Roman standard font, because the font makes my ears hurt.
Yeah, I definitely got thrown off by the font.
you'd like, the commission would like a better font. Okay,
Arial
That we've
or Times New Roman.
used, before and all that.
I think it was just, it might even be the right font, it's just a different size maybe. So I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 10th with the modifications as discussed.
Lundin second,
Roll call, Caulfield's aye.
Lundin aye.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, I.
Catino, aye.
We already did the land donation. Oh no, site plan revision for 59 Meeting House Lane. So this is a project that we approved last fall, and it's I think that the property's been sold and the new landowner wants to make some modifications to the footprint of the house and even pull it a little bit forward in the property, and also make some changes to the drive. I think take a little bit of the curve out of it, and I think they want to go to a pervious material or an impervious material as opposed to gravel. Their argument being that the gravel will eventually be impervious as well. There's some, I can bring it up. Can you see it now?
Yes.
So there's a presentation that wasn't in your packet. There is some discussion about, is the applicant here tonight? Do we know? I don't see them, no.
No.
So they did decrease the footprint of the house by 25%, and they decreased the amount of driveway, even though they're changing it to asphalt. And they're also giving back and proposing to put about 8,000 square feet back into natural vegetation that was indicated on the original plan as lawn. Additionally, they're in consideration of putting in asphalt. They are looking to put in some swales and a bioretention basin to treat the runoff from the driveway. Is that about it, Andrea? Did I catch it all?
That is it. So the next page of the next page shows, no, page 37, go down 2, I guess it is. So on this page, hard to see, the driveway is a lot less circuitous. It's much straighter. Does any, it's a straighter shot in, which is what we were asking at the time. And then if you go to the next one, you'll get here's the limit of work line is the purple line. That was what was approved as the limit of work, both north and south of the project. He stayed within the limit of work, but he pushed his house closer to the street line to shorten his driveway. And you can almost see the gray older house, much bigger house behind it. He now only has about 4 feet on his northern side to the limit of work. But he's designing it in such a way that there's really going to be no walking around on that side of the property. It's really on this side of the property. That's a garage. So you would walk through the garage instead of walking around it. So the question that is before you today is, since the limit of work is maintained, since the structure since the pervious is actually less than it was, the question is this an administrative minor modification, or do you want him to come in and have a full evaluation through an amended notice of intent? Amended notice of intent means you only look at that which has changed, but you have the full public hearing, legal notice, abutter notifications. Clearly, he'd prefer the minor mod, and tried to respect that which he thought you'd be most sensitive to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I certainly am in favor of the, I mean, he certainly is cognizant of the things that we're gonna be concerned about. You know, I mean, he's added the retention basin here and the swale on this side of the drive. This is the area that he's proposing to give back to let go back to nature in this area here. So you know, I think I'm okay with it. It is a minor mod. I actually probably like the plan a little bit better than the other one. It's a smaller home and a smaller amount of driveway. You can see the old driveway curved around here. It went all the way back to here. The house, this is the footprint of the house back here.
So this is all preliminary. This wasn't built. Is that correct?
Yeah, this isn't built at all, right?
Okay.
He can't come in for a foundation permit. When you come in for a foundation permit, you have to show the full house.
Right.
So he wanted to get the Conservation Commission's feedback before he asked for a building permit.
My only hesitation is this is most certainly not a minor modification.
Right.
I think I agree with you, Rory, in that I'm in favor of it. But we'll be setting precedent for pretty major modifications to slide in under a minor modification, guys.
Well, but what I used as criteria is you kept the limit of work, your pervious area hasn't increased, it's decreased, you've respected all the conditions, and yeah, he moved it in all the ways you asked the other guy to do in the hearing, and he wouldn't do.
No, I totally get all that. I'm just, raising the concern about it. I mean, this is certainly not minor. It's a pretty radical change. It's a radical change in the positive, I think.
Yeah, I remember working on a project where the applicant came in with something similar, and it was a smaller footprint and less impacts to wetland crossing, and they wanted to treat it like a minor modification, and the commission wouldn't allow it. They said they have to refile.
And you agree with that?
It's not something I agree with. I mean, it's all up to opinion on whether you think it constitutes, minor modification. And, when I look at things, if the footprint's decreasing, that's a net benefit to, permitting projects and us conforming and administering, the rules and protection that's within our purview and jurisdiction. You know, it's just at your kind of discretion as how you perceive that.
Yours being the commission.
Yeah, yours being the commission, as how the commission feels towards this, and you know, is it a net benefit? I mean, well, it looks like they're going to be closer to the 50-foot for both wings of the house versus, you know, being within the 75 to 100-foot buffer. So, I mean, you're getting closer to the no disturb. Is that an increase? Is that a decrease? You got to weigh what the overall aspect of this whole entire project is. If he proposed it all the way to the east, further outside the buffer zone, I think this would be more acceptable to my opinion. I mean, you're getting further away from our jurisdiction.
There's a wetland to the west. There's a wetland. If north is up, then there's a wetland to the east.
So
farther back.
I guess where 97 is, that where the angle point comes in.
You can see it here.
Oh, right there. Okay. I mean, if he could position it within that kind of box there, and I don't know what the conditions are with you know, trees and whatnot. I don't know if this whole area is forested.
There's a big drop there.
Right.
You remember
Well,
that
the contours, obviously.
Sean and Rory?
Yeah.
He kept it at the top of the slope instead of into that gravel pit. That was
so more additional grading. I mean, if that's the ultimate, the most, you know, acute point where you could position it for development, then that's really probably the better place for it, based on less grading potential.
Yeah, good ideas, John.
But it's a very narrow window here because you're kind of sandwiched between multiple wetlands all at once.
Yeah, it's tough.
Really tough.
I mean, is there a way where he could potentially turn the house at a 90-degree angle? And would that be something that would be, you know?
Then that northern wing is his garage.
What about if he kind of turned it 100, or was it 290 degrees?
Rory, I think you're right. I think they're going to amendment.
Yeah, so that was gonna be my next question. If it's not a minor mod, what's the next simplest road to take this?
He has an amendment, and he has, and so basically, he gambled. He's got a 6-week window now to do permitting. He's gonna get. He's got
until.
Well, he's got to come in for a legal ad and a public hearing. The way a normal notice of intent is done, an amendment is done through the same process. You just have a narrow focus of what it is you're reviewing.
So can I ask a procedural question here? So who's eligible to vote on an amendment?
The vote's tonight. The vote is tonight.
I mean, if when he comes back in. So I mean, we can make the recommendation tonight that we want this to come in as an amendment.
It comes in as a new hearing. So whoever's present that night.
That was my question. So you answered the question. So I think that so why don't we make just so we go on the record of what we're doing here. So make a motion that 59 Meeting House Lane modifications need to be submitted as an amendment to a notice of intent.
Catino, second.
Roll call vote. Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
So you have your answer. Environmental planner updates.
Okay, I can be quick. let me share my screen. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the water treatment and the chlorine analyzer over at Wheaton Farm Barn has been installed. Thank you to the commissioners who went out and took a look at it, and of course are very can you see the pictures of the analyzer? Okay. So there it is. She's standing about 5 feet tall, and that is a big lilac bush in front of the Wheaton Farm Barn that some would say needs to be restored. The question, what you don't see is what you can sort of see is that there's a drive that goes. The farmers have fields to the side and behind the barn, and so there's a driveway that goes around. So how to screen this from coming down Bay Road, driving south? I got some feedback from 3 commissioners that bush rather than fence, and whether he can get lilac, a 2 to 3 gallon lilac. He can only get one. He could put that in front of the analyzer right next to the other lilac bushes, not right next to, but adjacent to the other lilac bushes. And the question was whether or not he should put another one like 90 degrees from that, so that it and I asked him if he'd be able to, if he put it in front of the door of the analyzer, would he be able to open the door and still have full access on the drive? And he thought that yes, indeed he could, but it would be tight. So unless you guys changed your mind, I think he'd like to know if you're okay with putting in one bush or more than one bush. And if it's more than one bush, can you give him a couple choices of native species so he can see if it's in inventory for the nursery?
I think that the one comment, Carol and I had a discussion about it a couple days ago, was just with that drive, if we put in a lilac bush, it gets as big as the one that's right there, you're going to impede use of that drive. So we may want to have something that's a little bit more controlled than that. But I don't know anything about bushes. My wife would have to tell me what bush to use. So.
Yeah. I'm in favor of doing nothing.
That's what I wrote in the email to Andrew. I checked it out. I didn't notice it from the road. If you told me it was there, then yeah, I'll see it. But I say just leave it be. It's not an eyesore. It's kind of hidden. It's green.
Right. Any new plantings would have to be maintained.
Yeah, don't
established.
And you get weedy. You'll look like rubbish. That's what I think. And a fence, I think, would just really bring attention to it.
The one thing that I didn't consider, and I didn't take a picture of it here, is off to the left on the second picture. There's actually a small tree there,
right?
That was planted by the garden club in memoriam of one of their former members,
right?
So that provides some screening coming down the south side. Like you have to know it's there to see it.
You do. I had to pull to the lot and go, oh, there it is.
So the water department's not going to complain if we tell them not to plant anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
They just asked that you review the plans.
Anybody have any other thoughts?
I vote no plants.
Okay, so I think that think we have a consensus, at least a majority say, no plans.
Cool. Okay, the next thing is, unless you guys think otherwise, I'm inclined to give you the equine encephalitis, whatever the 30 is. Equine encephalitis, what's the third one?
Eastern.
Equine encephalitis.
Equine encephalitis. It's coming closer to Easton. Easton is still a low-risk town. But West Bridgewater, Raynham, and Taunton are now considered moderate risk, encircling that critical risk of Carver and Middleborough. This is a map that the Department of Public Health is changing weekly. The West Nile virus is still very low risk, but use your DEET when you go outside for equine encephalitis. We are in a drought, big surprise there. The state's acknowledged it. The MVP grant, we talked about how there'll be a notice of intent filing, probably filing mid-September for an end of September hearing. I'd like to use that hearing, if you guys don't mind, to get public comment on the plan. It would actually work out pretty well for the wetland restoration plan and the concrete removal. The biggest factor is going to be the amount of money we have to remove, and we're not really going to know the cost. When we set up the grant, we put $50,000 for removing the concrete structures. Turns out there's a lot of concrete out there, and we're checking out now to see if it's got rebar in it. And of course, doing the restoration requires removal of fill, which maybe we can use on site. So rather than wait for the quotes for the preferred plan and what it would cost, what I'm thinking might be a good idea is to bring the concept plan forward in the notice of intent first hearing and give you, the landowner, and the permitting authority, get your feedback on what you would most like to see done. And then between the first hearing and the second hearing, we'll go out and put it out for quotes so that we can figure out what we can afford to do in this grant and what is going to be a second phase project when we get the money for it. That being said, so it's going to come in as a concept plan, and then it's going to get refined based on your input and the input of the public. That being said, Brad Holmes did identify a lot of invasives in the wetland area, shrubbery, as well as less. So just getting rid of the invasives is going to really open up the view of the open water marsh, and it's going to improve the wetland itself. But that means that those that are monitoring it are going to have a larger project. And those that are monitoring it might be the Conservation Commission members that volunteer to do it and our citizenry. We do have one training session with Brad Holmes on how to be good monitors and how he will recommend you handle the area, but it's going to be work, and invasive species management is something that you have to stick with. So heads up, I'm hoping you all want to volunteer to do this. That's going to be an issue. So we're looking at cost and we're looking at invasives, and Brad is giving us really good service. He really likes the project, and he'll be at the first meeting to give you his feedback, even though it's outside of the scope. So,
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Anybody else have anything they want to? Before we leave, this is likely Stefan's last participation with us. I want to thank Stefan for all of his leadership and guidance over the years. I remember when I joined the commission, I knew nothing, and I looked at Stefan, who had been on the commission for about a year, and he knew everything. He ran a good meeting and taught me a lot over the years, especially taught me to listen to all the participants and give everyone a voice. And I do appreciate that, and I know that his contributions to this commission have been great, and I appreciate all the time that he's given to us, the town, and the town should be proud of the work that he's done. I know that he's still committed to the town, and will continue to utilize the properties that he has been a steward of over the past several years. So, Stefan, thank you very much for all that you've done for us, me individually, and us as a town.
Thank you for those kind words. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. We've been through some stuff together on this one. I wanted to take the time to first thank you for taking over some duties while had a newborn situation this summer. So that's much appreciated. And you're doing an awesome job running the meetings. I want to thank Andrea and Stephanie before her, Tish and Keith for all the support on the administrative side of things. A whole lot of minutes for you guys to take and distribute and putting the packets together to help us do our job well. So, thank you guys, and thank you guys to the rest of the commissioners that are on right now for taking the interest and taking the dive into volunteering for the town. It's great that you guys are on there, and I feel very comfortable leaving the commission in your hands, no matter what happens with my seat. So. I think you guys are in a great place. So I really appreciate all that. I guess on my way out, I did have a couple things I wanted to make sure stayed on the radar because I think they could be, beneficial. Andrea, and I know there's probably no time for it right now, but we had started talking about some of the forestry management stuff and how great and self-sustaining that can be. And maybe I can help in a part-time associate member side of things, helping to move that forward. But I think that would be something that's great to accomplish there. And I hope that we continue working hand in hand with the Eagle Scouts in the town to really improve our properties and open them up to greater appreciation of the beauty that the properties provide for the town. And I know it's on your radar too, Andrea, is, trying to think towards, maintenance of the properties too, and how we can address that aside from just some of the forestry stuff.
Remember, you have an unemployed member. They would love to job. They could help out. But I think those are a couple things that can be great, and particularly the forestry, just how it's kind of a self-sustaining process, and it could potentially add some revenue back into the conservation fund, which would be useful for down the road. But aside from that, I think you guys are doing an awesome job. You're well positioned, Andrea. You're the best. Thank you, everybody.
I haven't forgotten. I've been touting that forest management plan and the upgrade with different grant writers. I just haven't found the grant that wants to take it on yet.
Nice. All right. Always doing the research in the background. I know that.
Don't come forward until I got a yes. So.
Love it. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Stefan. Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Stefan.
Okay.
All right, with that, I guess I'll do the last motion. Motion to adjourn.
Paul
Lee,
second.
Roll call vote.
There you go. Caulfield's aye.
Lundy night.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, I.
Contino, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, Stefan.
Night.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.